And whenever you're ready to go, we are all set.
Okay. You gonna spotlight me, Kate? Great. Good morning and welcome to our business roundtable. Today's topic is going to be business solutions in the world of COVID. My name is Chris Conway and I'm the Executive Director of the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce. Today's program is being presented by the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce's Economic Development Committee in association with the Special Committee on Economic and Workforce Recovery with the town of West Hartford. I would like to welcome you, all the attendees and our group of panelists, and I expect we're going to have a very rich and informative discussion today. I would also just like to take a few moments to thank our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, the University of St. Joseph, our gold sponsor, LeGrand North America, and our sponsor, Corsi & Company, and also our technology sponsor, Westfield Bank. I would like to now turn it over to Kristen Gorski, the town of West Hartford's Economic Development Coordinator. Take it away, Kristen.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. As Chris mentioned, Kristen Gorski, Town of West Hartford's Economic Development Coordinator. Thank you to everybody for taking some time out of your very, very busy schedules in order to be here and participate today. I also am incredibly excited, and really honored to welcome all of our panelists today. We are so, we are so lucky to have such a wide variety and diverse, cross-section of businesses in West Hartford. And I'm really excited to hear from experts in those industries, in those fields, in everything that's going on with their businesses and their industries right now. So thank you so much for being here. I also would like to recognize the members of our Town Council Special Committee on Economic and Workforce Recovery that are here today. In particular, I'd like to recognize Mayor Sherry Cantor, Deputy Mayor Leon Davidoff, Minority Leader Lee Gold, Beth Kerrigan, Ben Wanograd, and Chris Williams, who I believe Chris was unable to attend today. But thank you to that Special Recovery Committee on all of their great work. With that being said, I would also like to turn it over for a very brief introduction from Mayor Sherry Cantor.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you to the Chamber, the Economic Development Committee, and all of you participating in this. It's really important for us as elected leaders to hear what you are going through, what you think works, what you think doesn't work, what you think your next hurdle and challenges are going to be as you continue to reinvent yourselves to respond during this really challenging time. And I want to thank my colleagues who are also listening in, because the most important thing right now that we can do is listen and help problem solve and be vehicles for you to try to get answers with your challenges, and then maybe advocate either at the state or federal level, whatever we can do. So I'm anxious to hear from all of you. Thank you again for being such such incredible contributors to our community, and we're so grateful to have you. And I just want to again thank everybody for putting this together.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And with that, I will turn it over to our moderator, Chuck Corsi from Corsi & Company, to get into our program today.
Thanks, Kristen, and thank you all for joining us today. Again, my name is Chuck Corsi. I chair the Chamber's Economic Development Committee, and I'll be your tour guide for today's discussion. We're looking forward to hearing from some of our major industries and employers on ways the West Hartford Chamber
Hear you, Chuck.
Oh, your sound went out, Chuck.
There we go.
Yep, sorry about that. I got to turn off this phone. We're looking forward to hearing from some of our major industries and employers on ways the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce and the town of West Hartford can help support business continuity during COVID, including what we can do now and what we can do next. We're grateful to be joined by our panelists representing a diverse group. I'd like to introduce them. Representing manufacturing, we have from LeGrand North America, Wire Mold Vice President, General Manager, Scott Bausch. From retail, we have the owner of Fleet Feet, Stephanie Blasi. Representing education, we have the president of University of St. Joseph, our friend Rona Free. From the nonprofit community, we have Future Inc.'s president and CEO, Pamela Don Arma. From fitness, from Life Fitness Studio, we have the owner, Deborah Fountain. Representing some of our properties and property management in town, from RLM Co., Mike Mahoney. Representing the restaurant field, Doro Restaurant Group COO, Scott Miller. And I don't believe, has Dr. McClure joined us yet?
Sorry, yes, I'm here.
Oh, hey, doctor, thanks for joining us. From the healthcare field, from Hartford Healthcare, we have Dr. Mitch McClure. And finally, from the home improvement construction field, we have Eric Brown and Yuri Kotowitz from West Hartford Lock. As our presenting sponsor today, we're honored, as Kristen said, to have Rona Free, president of University of St. Joseph, on today's panel. We thank her for USJ's support today for today's program, and have asked her to say a few words.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see faces that I usually see at events or around town, but haven't seen in months. So it's nice to be here. I am very grateful for this opportunity, partly because one of the things that we've been concerned about at the University of St. Joseph is that we have always been very interconnected with the West Hartford community, and we've really been having to discourage students from going into town to patronize restaurants, to do shopping. We've not been able to encourage the community to come back onto campus. And we really want to be West Hartford's university. And so I think this will give us an idea to talk, an opportunity to talk about some ways where maybe we can make special arrangements so that we can get the students back out into the community safely, and we can have the community back on campus. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I just want to give you a brief introduction to the university. Most of you probably know us pretty well, but just in case you're not aware, we are now about 2,400 students, slightly more graduate students and doctoral students than undergraduate students. We usually have about 350 students living on campus, undergraduates, and the majority of our students are still in the traditional fields that St. Joe's is known for: nursing, education, social work. We now have the Physician Assistant Studies program and the pharmacy school, which is in the Excel Center down in Hartford, but those students and faculty are up on this campus quite often as well. Just overall, in terms of the independent higher education sector in Connecticut, that sector has an annual economic impact of $33.2 billion in the state. For the University of St. Joseph, our annual economic impact is about $600 million, and much of that hits the town of West Hartford through payroll to people who live in the town. Those people buy homes in the town, they do their shopping. We use a lot of local vendors, including, for example, over $30 million in the last 2 years in construction projects. So we've seen over the last couple of years new connections with vendors in the community, and we're really grateful for that. But we want to make sure that we reinstate those as COVID disappears sometime next year. But even before it disappears, see if we can figure out ways that we can work more closely with the community again, because I think we do have a huge impact on the community, and the community is a tremendous resource for us. I'm grateful for the questions that Kate sent out ahead of time, because I think they will give us all a good chance to talk about what we have in common and the shared interests that we all have. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Rona, and thanks for all that you and the University of St. Joseph does for our community. What I'd like to do next, before we get into the questions, is just give each of the remaining panelists a couple of minutes to briefly introduce themselves and their business. And why don't we start with Scott? at Wiremold.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
So my name's Scott Bausch. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of the Wiremold business. We employ 300 factory folks and 300 front office folks in the West Hartford location. We're governed by the Legrand corporate organization, but we're a legacy business that's been in the area for over 100 years, and we make products that are pretty essential for the market. They're products that provide power to commercial offices and residential homes. So we've been working all along and trying to do our best to stay safe. And I'm happy to be here this morning with you all and help answer some questions.
Thanks, Scott. Stephanie from Fleet Feet, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Blosey. I'm the owner of Fleet Feet in West Hartford Center. We are a run specialty store. Trying to hang in there as best as possible. We survived our shutdown of 69 days earlier this spring and are grateful for every day that we can stay open now. And my hope is that going into this holiday season, it's a really important time for us to be open so that we can sell through our winter inventory and hopefully have lots of customers with happy gifts under the tree. And kind of walking on eggshells. My staff has been incredible during this whole pandemic, coming into work and not complaining about safety and safety precautions and wearing a mask all day. And I'm excited to hear how everybody else is doing.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. Pamela, would you like, from Futures, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Pam Donnaroma, and let's see. I'm the president of Futures. We were part of the University of Connecticut 25 years ago, and we were privatized as an innovative program. We have our corporate offices in West Hartford. We also have a school, Futures School, which is a state-approved community-based special education school. And we were the first social enterprise to be incorporated in Connecticut, celebrating our 11th year. We opened up a location in the middle of the pandemic on Farmington Avenue. So that's good cause gifts. And that's been a bit of a challenge because opening up at that time was not the best time, and it was with a partnership with Nutmeg. So we are renting space through Nutmeg, which is a great location. But our challenge is letting people know that we're there, and because of the lack of traffic, the sales have been pretty challenging. We did launch our online store. So we now have an online store, and we are partnering with ARC of Connecticut, which is also located in West Hartford, their corporate offices. And we'll be doing fundraisers with other nonprofits to hopefully boost our sales.
Great, thank you so much, Pam. Next, let's hear from Mike at RLM Co. How are you, Mike?
Everybody. My name's Mike Mahoney. I run a commercial brokerage company. We do office and retail leasing and management. I think this is a challenging time for everybody, for our tenants, for the people that live in the local community, and it's I think we're all, myself and the owners that I represent, are all very nervous about what lies ahead of us with the spike in COVID infections, how we sort of navigate our way through that, and keep everybody in business really is the main thing. And we're concerned, Sherry, as you can imagine, about additional shutdowns. It seems like regardless of what Ned Lamont says, ultimately, if things keep going the way they are, that we may be headed to further pullback, which would be difficult for both our retailers and my owners and everyone in the community. So wear your mask and try and be safe, and hopefully we can get through this winter and come out the other side with a vaccine that is safe and effective and can get us back to some semblance of what life used to be.
Thanks, Mike. Scott from Doro Restaurant Group, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning. Sorry my video's not on. I am currently driving, so I'm going to leave that off if that's okay with everyone.
Absolutely.
My name is Scott Miller, Dorian Fuca's partner and COO of Doro Restaurant Group. We have 5 restaurants, 4 of them located in West Hartford and one also located in Manchester. You know, we are, I would say, in similar thoughts as any other business owner in the area. We luckily, thank you to the town of West Hartford for allowing us to have a phenomenal summer months and extended patios. But with that being said, and unfortunately done with this 20-degree weather, it's reading 36 on my car right now, but you know, we can't anticipate any other diners really sitting outside, you know, maybe a few sporadically over the next week or two. And going into the holiday season, you know, as Mike just alluded to, we're aware. I'm a member of the Connecticut Restaurant Association. I sit on the board. You know, we're having phone calls every morning, yeah, I mean, we're taking it day by day, but it's very nerve-wracking. We believe that there is going to be some sort of shutdown where we go back to takeout only, which is a very, very, very small part of our business, and it's definitely a scary time. December typically for our restaurant group could make up anywhere from 30 to 35% of our total annual revenues. So we're leaving that on the table, and you know, we have over 300 current employees, and we're worried that we're going to go back to where we were in March and go down to 8 employees. So thanks for having
Scott.
us.
Thanks for joining us. Drive carefully. Dr. McClure from Hartford Healthcare, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Mitchell McClure. I'm from Hartford Healthcare. I have a few different responsibilities. I'm the director of hospital medicine at Hartford Hospital, and during COVID times, I've become the chief executive officer in charge of COVID testing for Hartford Healthcare. So, and we have a couple of things, and I just want to add in, I'm a proud West Hartford resident myself. So, you know, we're very invested in the West Hartford community in a number of different ways, and in with primary care, with urgent care offices there in town, with a number of different relationships with St. Joseph's, with the students training here in our facilities, and in addition to the acute care, the hospital facilities, the primary care, things that we've tried to add on to be community supports during these times are a large amount of COVID testing capability. We just announced yesterday we're opening near the airport our 9th COVID testing site, drive-through site, and kind of more specific for this group, something we're calling Hartford Healthcare at Work, which is support and guidance for businesses in opening and dealing with the pandemic. I'm also Chief Medical Officer for Stanley Black & Decker, which is part of that, and obviously one aspect of that solution I'm mentioning for a very large corporation, but we also help businesses of all sizes kind of navigate these things with all different levels of engagement. So we're here to help in whatever way we can. So just wanted to share that. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you, Doctor. And finally, from West Hartford Lock, Yuri, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having us. I'm Yuri Kodowitz. I'm responsible for corporate strategy and business development here at West Hartford Lock. We actually moved during the pandemic from Prospect Ave on the Hartford side to West Hartford. Now we're on South Street in West Hartford. We're probably a little bit unique in that there's 3 distinct divisions to our business. We have a retail store where we support companies like Udolph, Figure Eight, other property managers, homeowners. We have an on-the-road service team that, and Mike, we support Mike in the center and his locations throughout the area. So we have a retail store. We have an on-the-road team of locksmiths and technicians that travel the area and, again, support our customers, University of Hartford, et cetera. I'm not going to go through all the customers, but just to give you an idea, the retail store, the on-the-road service team, and then we have a contract division that does bid work, bidding out large construction projects like Teachers Corner, the Delamar, et cetera, large construction projects. So we've got folks that are working from home, we've got folks working on the road, and we're also welcoming customers and local residents and business owners into our building. So there's many different facets that we have to concern ourselves with regarding COVID and protections and the like with what's going on now. We are a minority and woman-owned business, which has availed us of different resources, regarding preparation for COVID and different informational outlets, webinars, Zooms, things like that. So that's been of help, great help, to make sure that we're prepared and we're serving our customers as best we can and protecting our employees. So thanks, Chuck, and thanks everyone for having us today.
Thank you, Yuri, and thank you to all the panelists for joining us today. What I'd like to do next is go through some questions and give everybody an opportunity to answer. We'll mix up the order in which we go in, and I'll ask one question at a time. The first question is, of all the factors affecting your business, what are your top 3 concerns? And I want to start with Dr. McClure and knowing, I think in general, what are the top 3 concerns you would have for businesses during the current pandemic?
I'm muted there. Just to clarify, top 3 concerns for other businesses or our business, because of course we have our own.
Or it could be in general, as you see, in terms of testing, in terms of mitigations, mask wearing or non-mask wearing, what you think could help, what businesses can be doing to help alleviate and stop the spread.
Sure, and just hearing from the other panelists, I think the number one concern that I think I'm hearing from everybody today is how do we stay in business, and how do we navigate these times, and that's something we do try to help with as best we can, but it's I think it's certainly the number one concern. So the parts of that we try to help with are how can you open and operate safely and design workflows and procedures to be able to do that and keep your customers safe and keep your employees safe. So I think certainly how do we stay open and how do we do business during these times is by far the number one concern. The number 2, which I think that I think about for our business in healthcare, but it applies to everybody, is what's the future going to bring and what's our path forward, and that's we at Hartford Healthcare are looking and how we not go back to where we were, but how we build better and move forward from this and really grow from this. And and I think that we're not going to go back to the way things were, and that's true for many businesses. Even as vaccines become available, it's going to be a long path ahead potentially to navigate this. And so that's I think probably the second most important consideration. And then number 3, I would say, which I think applies for us and our employees as well as everybody else, is how do I take care of myself and my staff and our wellness during this time? Because we're all experiencing so much fatigue from going through COVID, and it hits us in different ways, but it's difficult for everyone. And how do I and this is something we talk about, I talk about as a leader within my organization, but I'm sure everybody else does too. How do we support each other through this, and how do we focus on our own wellness and our mental health? Those are my top three.
Thank you, Doctor. Scott, how about you? I think we already got a good part of the punch for your concerns.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 would be safety, safety, safety. I mean, we have to, at any given day, we're getting 300 plus people into our facility, trying to make sure they get there safely, they work safely, and they go home safely. It's taken a big effort to do that. It's a big part of our day as a business now that didn't exist pre-COVID. It's a cost to our business that we have to maneuver around. So we think we've done a good job in that area. But beyond that, we're a global manufacturer of products, so we don't have the day-to-day concerns on cash flow that maybe a smaller business might have. But we are very concerned about the market outlook. Having the election behind us definitely helps, but there's still a lot of unknowns in the timing of the market and when it'll really come back. So that's our biggest concern and what we're trying to monitor, and we just have to stay on top of that and make sure we're prepared so we don't lose share in the market. And then the last thing for us is there's a lot of changes in technology and in the way people are going to work and in the way people are going to go about doing their jobs. I don't think we have the full picture of that yet since COVID's arrived, but it's something that we got to understand. We opened an opportunity for some of our people to come back to our offices a couple weeks ago, and then we put that on hold. But what I did figure out when we were talking to our organization about whether they wanted to come back to the office or not is most people actually prefer to work at home now. So that's a new dynamic. We're going to have to, when we're ready, we're going to have to maneuver around and figure out how that looks for collaboration and other concerns of running a business. So it's going to be a big deal. So lots of topics to consider in this new world.
Thanks, Scott. Let's go to our other Scott, Scott Miller. Again, we heard loud and clear what your concerns are. Is there anything you want to add to that?
You know what? We're following suit. Our concerns are, everyone's concerned. So I really don't have much to add right now. I'm more interested to hear what everybody else has to say. I think, the restaurant industry in general has gotten a lot of negative press, and that's our concern, and how to beat that negative press. We're last Sunday in the Hartford Current, I don't know if any or all of you saw, the headlines were, COVID cases on the rise, #1 gatherings at restaurants, not at bars, not at colleges, not at, it's the #1 reason. And, as someone that works, every day in restaurants, I could, attest that, there are some bad actors out there, and that's what we're, hoping gets eliminated. But I know, the Max Group and Billy Grant and the other restaurateurs in West Hartford are working diligently day in and day out to provide a safe environment for guests. So it's, just trying to eliminate some of that negative press that's out there is probably our largest concern.
Thanks, Scott. Mike Mahoney, how about you? 3 top concerns.
Well, safety for everybody is a big deal. I think for our customers that come into the properties that we manage and operate, for our tenants, we're focused on trying to provide a clean, safe environment. We constantly clean in the office buildings, literally from the time, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 at night. We have somebody that cleans starting on the lower level and moves all the way up to the top floor and then starts over and does it again. And I think we realize that this is, I think everybody started to realize that it's not so much the contact stuff, but it's more the minute you touch something, it's again dirty. But I think it does give the tenants in the building a sense of that we're attending to things and things are safer. Our tenants, both office and retail, are a huge concern to us. We want your businesses, we want everybody's businesses to survive and thrive. And thrive is a difficult thing in the time that we're living in. Surviving is, it's not what any of us want to do, is just get by. But boy, it seems to me that we've got to make it through this winter. And that's going to take a concerted effort on everyone's part. And then lastly is really, my business is focused in West Hartford Center. We've been my office, my father and my grandfather before me for the last 75 years. We've been here, and West Hartford Center is important to me. It's important to my owners, many of whom built the buildings that they own currently. And we want West Hartford to continue to look and feel like it does. And a major concern is with the worsening COVID crisis, are we going to be able to maintain this great little gem we have in Central Connecticut? Because it's really not like anything in this area at all. And despite the efforts to build the evergreen walks and the shops at Farmington Valley, you can't replicate what the center has. Very important to our business, and our tenants are the lifeblood of that. So those are the big things that are on my mind.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks very much. Deb, would you like to share your concerns?
Hello. My concern is now that the weather is cold, I can no longer cycle outside anymore or do any outdoor classes. So we've pivoted to virtual, and I'm actually renting out my bikes. I did a survey sent out to my clients about coming inside, and no one wants to come inside and work out, which I can't blame them. I don't want to put my staff nor myself at risk. So the concern is, I hope I survive with just virtual classes. That's my biggest concern right now at the moment.
Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Pam, how about you?
Well, I think one of our biggest challenges is, meeting the needs of the people we support. We work with people with disabilities in the community, and so we're an essential provider, and we work with some of the more challenging individuals. And so it's problematic when our staff can't come into work because their kids are now have to stay home and are getting remote education. Our school has gone hybrid for some of the students that can access their education remotely, but we also have a population where it's not an option. They really do need direct services. So that continues to be a challenge. And of course, getting timely access to testing. Our principal called me at 6:30 this morning. He was waiting in line because he had an exposure, and the testing site was going to test 100 people and he was 103. So that continues to be a challenge. And of course, our newest initiative, which is the store, which was a major investment for us, being able to continue to staff it, because staffing, people are nervous about coming in, even though we've taken about all the precautions we can. We have, ultraviolet lights, we have, medical grade air purifiers, but we're also not seeing the traffic. So I suppose in some ways we say, this is a good, it's a good thing because our staff doesn't have to get nervous because nobody's coming in. But on the other hand, it's not great for sales or business. So, trying to be able to, stay in business with the store that we just opened is our biggest challenge, and also, meeting the needs of the people we serve in the community, and our staffing. you know, to balance out when somebody can work from home and when they can't, given the nature of the work that we do.
Great. Thanks. Thanks so much. Rona, how about you? What are your and University of St. Joseph's 3 concerns?
So like everyone else, the top concern has to be safety and the health of our students and faculty and staff. Any glitch in safety for us that results in a positive case, we have to post on our website. So for us, it's really important that we manage carefully. But you know, I think we have done that. This week, for example, in our testing, we've only had 1 positive case this week. So we have, it's from a lot of people, 2,400 students. We have about between 700 and 900 employees, depending on exactly the time of year. We have about 200 students in the Jengra Center and the School for Young Children. So obviously, health and safety is a key concern, but I think we've pretty much figured out how to do everything possible, sort of like, you know, Pam said. You've got the things in place. Now we have to hope that in the external environment, there's an equal measure of safety. But that obviously is a main concern still. A second, and I mentioned this before, is that we feel a loss in not being able to encourage our students to go into town and patronize local businesses. And in not being able to encourage the community to come onto campus for, you know, the summer Shakespeare performances at the Autorino Center. We had such great fun with people from the community who came to basketball games the last couple of years. And we've lost that. So we're concerned about making sure we get that back again as soon as possible. We really we need to be a part of the community. Being in West Hartford is a big selling point for us. When we are recruiting students, we make it clear we are in West Hartford, which is one of the best towns you can be in Connecticut as a college student. So that's really important for us, and that is a concern, making sure we figure out as quickly as possible, how can we make arrangements so that our students can safely patronize local businesses again, go to restaurants. And I'm thinking of things like, I'm about 6 months short of being able to do this now, but you know, the early hours that you can go to the supermarket to shop in, if you're over 65, it would be great if we could figure out ways we could do things special for college students so that we can get them safely back into local businesses again. So that's important. And then the third thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, we still graduate a lot of students in nursing and teaching. And they have been able to continue what we refer to as their pre-professional experience, because those types of organizations have continued to operate. So our nursing students still get their clinical rotations. Our education students still do their student teaching. But we've moved into new areas in recent years. So we have computer and data science programs, business programs, new digital media and communication programs. Those students all have to have a pre-professional experience before they graduate. It's really important to the type of education that we provide. And those have been harder to offer to students successfully during COVID, and that's probably going to continue in the spring. So any ideas that any of you have for how we can, especially with those types of majors, computer science, digital media, business, how can we get them into your organizations as interns? And very often they're unpaid interns, they're well-prepared students. But that's a challenge and a concern for us because it's an important part of the education that St. Joe's offers. And it's been difficult in some sectors during COVID.
Thanks, Rona. Stephanie, would you like to share your concerns? Oh, I think you're on mute there, Steph. There we go.
All right. So yeah, like everybody else, safety is a big concern, making customers feel safe that they want to come in and shop with us. But more importantly is how do I keep my staff feeling safe and also happy? You know, it's really hard when you're in a business that you have to go into the office. You don't have the choice to work from home. They have lots of friends that are working from home and they're binge watching all kinds of TV shows and baking bread. And my staff have to come in, and my store is built on an exceptional customer service experience. So if they're not happy because they feel like they're missing out while everyone else is kind of having a lighter workload, that's my focus, is like, how can I keep them going? So there's been a lot of free lunches and gifts for the staff to keep them motivated, you know, being happy, especially during the shutdown and early on through June, July, when the part-timers could make more money on unemployment than they could working in the store. It was definitely a detriment for them to come back to work. And I really rely on my staff. It takes about 2 months, 60 days for them to be fully trained and able to work in the store. So it's not like I can just hire somebody off the street and they'd be ready to go. So, you know, keeping staff happy is good. A big concern right now is, what if there is an infection in the store? One of the staff members tests positive. You know, I keep an eye on the restaurants, and I see a lot of restaurants are just closing down completely for 2 weeks. Right now, I really can't afford to do that. So, you know, what are best practices in terms of, you know, do I just quarantine those that had interactions? You know, everyone's wearing a mask. Sometimes people are in different areas of the store. So that's a big concern. And then really it's just making ends meet. We order all of our product almost a year ahead of time. So right now I'm working on orders for next winter. And there's very little room to sort of cancel items. So we have product for what would have been considered a regular year. And knowing that there are some dips in business, that leaves me with a lot of extra product. So trying to manage sales and expenses, you know, hand sanitizer and face masks are not cheap. We've had, especially this summer, customers that would borrow rolls of toilet paper because of the shortage. So providing toilet paper for the town. And just running what I like to call lean and mean. My sister, my father, and I are all doing a little bit more in the store so that we can pay the staff more that we have and not have so many extra expenses that, you know, we don't meet what our expenses are showing. So, you know, very similar concerns as to everybody else.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. How about Yuri? Would you like to share your concerns before we go into the next question?
Yeah, probably the two primary examples would be, for instance, Mike Mahoney from RLM is one of our customers. If his tenant, if we have another shutdown or things remain in a very restrictive environment, his tenants have trouble paying rent, and then he's got to look at expenses and you know, how he spends his money. We provide services and products to him, you know, door hardware, keys, things like that. And if it's not in the budget for RLM, then we're not getting phone calls. We don't have his facility people visiting our store. And that would go for, you know, all our other type of business. We are trying to pivot to those folks that are working from home and, you know, looking to then, you know, now upgrade their home hardware, door hardware, improve security, etc. So that's an avenue for us. And on the construction side, you know, if the town shuts down again, or you know, the permitting process continues to be slow or non-existent, that of course hurts the construction market and slows our business down there. So yeah, we want to, you know, continue to see folks taking the best precautions, following the guidance, you know, wearing their masks, social distancing. If we can stay in business, then, you know, tenants pay their rent, and property managers continue to use our services, buildings continue to get built.
Great, thanks, Yuri.
Thank you.
Our next question, I want to talk a bit about how each of your businesses have had to adapt during the pandemic, and perhaps what's worked and what hasn't worked in terms of adapting. I'd like to start with Deborah Fountain. And Deborah, I just want to make sure that, did you have a chance to introduce yourself during the first go around?
I did not. I didn't. That's okay.
My mistake. I apologize. Before you answer the question, can you tell us a little bit about fitness, Lifer Fitness Studio?
Well, as you know, the gyms are probably has a bad rep like the restaurants do. They can be germy, and it's really hard to wear a mask and work out. So that's a challenge. How do you work out with a mask on? You can't, basically, if you're doing cardio like cycle. So I'm the owner of Lifer Fitness Studio. I make up 9 instructors. We pivoted to virtual right away in March, and then in July we started to work out outside. I'm very fortunate I can roll my bikes right out on the loading dock, basically behind Lifer, and we can cycle, and that's been doing really well. We even had a class this morning. It was 23 degrees. So next week is my last week of outdoor classes. I'm going to rent my bikes out. And, I pivoted to virtual. A lot of people don't like it. I'm very fortunate that I have a good community behind me, and they have been doing virtual. So we will be all virtual next week, and we'll see how that goes. I'm just hanging in there, same like everybody else. Paying the bills is a challenge. I have wonderful instructors, and I've been very fortunate to be able to pay them. But it's I'm just crossing my fingers and praying like everybody else that we can get through the winter. And I'm not sure how to go back inside. That's a challenge for me. How do I go back? I'm not even sure what the proper protocol for cleaning. I know they said 12 feet apart, but again, when you're exercising, that's a challenge. So it would be nice to have a little bit more guideline into how do you clean the air after a class. And so we're just kind of making it up as we go. I was able to do kickboxing and bar and cycle all summer long. And now that it's cold, again, we're going all virtual, and we'll see. But I do have a great community behind me. And I've been very fortunate to keep my instructors as well.
Thanks, Deborah. Deborah, whereabouts is your studio located?
It is off of New Park Avenue. If you know where Chick-fil-A is, you can find me. I'm right across, right in front of Home Depot, the Home Depot and BJ's. I'm the building in front of Home Depot.
Oh, okay. The cool building.
Yes.
Yes.
Very
where all the
cool.
cool kids hang out. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. And
You're
my
welcome.
apologies again.
Not a problem.
Okay. Mike, how about you? How have you guys had to adapt? What's worked, what hasn't?
Well, first of all, I want to tell Stephanie that we too are donating toilet paper to the entire town of West Hartford. Unfortunately, it gets taken as fast as we can put it out. It's gotten better, but it was really bad for a while. You're kind of balancing how many rolls do I want to have out here, because you don't want somebody stuck, but at the same time, they're going to get taken. So the stuff that's been difficult, it's interesting. I continue to be shocked by how few people, by the number of people who don't pay any attention to the instructions on the office buildings. You have to wear a mask to come into the building. You have to wear a mask in the common areas, and the utter dismay when they're told that that's really true. We do require a mask in the building, and we have people that are just not willing to do it. The number of calls that I get from tenants saying, there's 6 people in the hallway outside my office and none of them have masks on. And that sort of thing is challenging. We're trying to do what we can to help to make people be safer and to help people feel safe. I mean, that's the big thing is we want, I just feel like everything that we do should be designed to lessen our potential exposures, and apparently not everyone feels that way. So that has been a bit of a challenge for us. We are adapting to just different ways. I've got, I would say, the building that my office is in West Hartford Center at 10 North Main Street. I'm going to say that we have probably half of the tenants back here, based on the parking lot. The it's been great for the people that work in the restaurants, because they all have always liked to park here because it's free. So we've had more parking available for them, but it's just every day is a new something new that you have to think about and attend to, and we're doing the best we can, and we're trying to make everybody keep everybody safe. So
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Much appreciated. Scott from Doro, how about you? What's worked, what hasn't worked in terms of trying to adapt?
I think we may have lost our connection with Scott Miller.
Oh, okay. Why don't we go, since we're on the Scott train here, why don't we go to Scott Bausch?
Yeah. So, on the what's worked side, I think, the deployment of having people work from home has been terrific for us. We had good ideas. We're on a Zoom call today. We actually use the Microsoft Teams platform, which is phenomenal, has a lot of capabilities. So, we've been able to keep our people working from home safely, and those that can work from home that aren't in manufacturing. And it's been pretty seamless, other than the collaboration that you miss from being face to face. It's been a pretty good program. What's not working, honestly, is reducing the stress level. I mean, one of the problems with work from home or work in the manufacturing environment is you have your everyday stresses of COVID, just getting to the store and back, and then you kind of tie that in with the fact that you don't have that social interaction that sometimes you would have gotten in your 8-to-5 job. You're just going from one Teams meeting or one Zoom meeting to the next, and not really socializing or relieving any of your tensions at all. So, we haven't figured that piece out at all. We've tried, social happy hours virtually, and we've tried meetings virtually, but we haven't figured that solution out at all as a business, and something we're going to continue to take into account and try to work on, especially through the holidays, because we're actually trying to give our people a few more breaks and a little more time off, but that doesn't even seem to be solving the problem either. So definitely one we got to work on. So, we've learned a lot. There's some good things, there's some bad things, but we're still open. So that's the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Yuri, how about you?
As far as adapting for us, it's been ensuring that our employees are adhering to best practices, where, because a lot of them, we've got the internal employees, some have chosen to work from home, and we support that. Our folks out in the field, we're just making sure that they're sanitizing their hands, washing their hands, wearing their mask. We do have the signage at the retail store to make sure that folks are wearing protection when they enter the building. We've gone to great lengths to make sure that our employees that are more so on the service side and in the store are maintaining as much distance as possible. So should someone come down, either with an infection with COVID or something else that's not COVID, rather than running a scare through the whole team, we've got everyone maintaining as much distance as possible. So really, it would be that one employee. We can isolate them. So the adaptation has been more on the personal protection side for us. I'm doing more, on a business development side or customer service side. everything's done remotely. Obviously you're not gonna, it's harder to foster or grow relationships on a Zoom call or on a phone call, but that's just where we are right now. So from a business development or sales or customer service perspective, we've changed things there as well.
Thanks, Yuri. Dr. McClure, I was hoping I could maybe ask you a different question. A few minutes ago, Deb Fountain talked about, what to do to keep the air safe in her studio. Any suggestions on that? Safe to breathe. Is there anything you can shed on that?
Yeah, it is it's more of an engineering question, but it's one we get a lot. And so I'm not an engineer, but I have become a little bit knowledgeable on the topic. So, in general, so some general principles, and I will tell you there is some more concrete guidance that's out there, and that's something that we, I just want to put this out there, that we can offer free of charge to lead people to resources, if needed. Just reach out to the Hartford Healthcare at Work. We can supply that link separately. But general principles around ventilation to make it safer. Number one, bringing in outdoor air and exchanging air, more frequently. Both of those things to increase safety. Number two is filtration. So increasing the level of filtration helps to make the air safer as well. And sometimes, air handlers can't I know, deal with the amount of filtration, and so that has to be accounted for again by somebody different than me. But you have to take that into account. And then number three is UV light. So UV light does inactivate the virus, and that's something that some companies have put in place to as a measure to decrease risk.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. And actually, if you could be so kind, and if you could share with us that contact information, I know you've been in touch with Kristen or myself or the folks at the chamber, or even if you wanted to put it in the chat here as a follow-up to this discussion, that's something we'd love to get out to our members. And that's a great resource. Thank you to Hartford Healthcare for providing that.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Absolutely.
This notion of the guidance from the state on additional air circulation and all of that stuff, it is obviously that stuff is all helpful and important. We're able to do stuff from a management perspective to use better filters that provide more filtration. But if you looked at the guidance when it originally came out to reopen buildings, they wanted more air circulated and to change the amount of air coming in and out. You can change the amount of, you can alter the amount of outside air that comes in, but it's not as simple as if you have a 5-ton air conditioning unit that operates and cools a space, you can't go out on your roof and put a 7.5-ton unit on there and have that work. You have to change all of the ductwork. And so it's great to say we need more filtration or more air and all of that, but it's just not, as a practical matter, as a property manager, I can tell you it's not nearly as easy as it sounds. There's a lot more to it than upsizing a unit. Obviously, we have a lot of windows in our buildings that open, and that helps people feel more comfortable in a window and leave the heat on if need be. But that's the sort of stuff you can do. But this notion of just increase the airflow is a lot harder in practice than it sounds when a guideline is put out.
Understood. Thanks, Mike, for that. Okay, moving along. Stephanie, did I get to you on what you've done to adapt and what's worked and what hasn't? Yeah, if you could share, that'd be great.
First, I'm gonna throw out a question for Mike, and that is, in these times, there's no precedent set to what the landlord should provide and what the tenant should provide. So maybe if we can get some answers from you or some guidance on, what can I ask my landlord to do? Is it change the filters? Is that my responsibility? I mean, obviously, we keep the doors open as much as possible and we have the heat blasting, and I'll pay the heat bill for that. But, are there things that maybe landlords should help out with tenants? And then I'll just throw out the things that we've been doing. We're trying to do more appointment-based business. We've always just been a walk-in kind of place, but now we're prioritizing appointments, and that seems to be helpful for those people that make an appointment, but it doesn't make some of the walk-ins happy if they now have to wait because somebody else was there before them. So kind of readjusting a precedent. We've tried to really build up curbside pickup, whether you call into the store and order a product or whether you order it through our online website and then pick it up curbside. We now have an employee, which is actually my sister, that handles all the curbside delivery. So she's at the ready that if you want to order curbside. So just trying to keep as many business options as we can with all that safety in mind.
So Stephanie, I'll just respond to your questions. It really, not trying to be elusive in any way, it really depends on what your lease it says. Some owners have, I think everyone looks at landlords as the place that you go to absorb what it is you can't handle. And there are owners that are certainly able to do that, who are in better shape financially, have their mortgages paid down. There are certainly many owners, the real estate business is about leverage, and many owners have 75% of the value of their property in a mortgage, and continuing to make mortgage payments while trying to accommodate tenants can be very difficult. I think you should be comfortable asking for anything you want and listening to what the owner has to say. Retail leases are different because typically the tenant is responsible for everything that goes on. We tend to do the maintenance and upkeep of the heating and air conditioning units, because what we find is if you leave it to tenants, they don't do it. And so with most of my retail stores, we do end up looking at that stuff. I mean, I've got my cooling contractor getting and of course I'm going to forget the name of the new filters, but they're much thicker. They remove many more particles, and they're going to be, you're also stuck on some of this stuff because the pocket that the filter fits in is only a ½ inch deep. Well, we might want to put a 3-inch filter in there, but there's no way to do it. But I would be comfortable from your perspective asking for whatever help and appealing to your landlord that you're trying to keep open and they want you to continue to pay rent, and how can they help you in that goal? Because if you can't, unlike what appears to be going on in the stock market generally, where earnings don't matter, for small businesses, they do. I mean, we can't just write off the next year and say I don't have to make any money and it'll all be fine in November of 2021. I mean, we can't do that. So, I would appeal to your owner in terms of how they can help you and how you can manage through what is an unprecedented situation together. So
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And you know what? I should have mentioned it earlier. I think this interaction is great, and I encourage it if other folks have something on topic that they think would be valuable to others. And with that, I see Pam has some info that she'd like to share.
Well, I think, because we're working with the state on a regular basis, DDS, we went ahead right in the beginning, and we can share with you, Stephanie, we put medical grade air purifiers in every building, as well as, we just got our UV lighting. We had UV wands for our store, and we just got foggers for all our vehicles, and none of it was all that expensive. The medical grade air purifiers for the largest ones run about 500, and now they have a medical grade with a UV filter. So we just did it. So it's not that big a deal, and the UV lighting is not expensive at all. So I'd be happy to connect you with somebody in my office, that purchased all of that for us. And I think it makes the staff feel a lot safer. It makes me feel a little bit better. I mean, it's not a perfect solution, but we've been doing whatever we can. And because we're transporting individuals, we also got the car foggers, which I guess everybody's real excited about. They work pretty quickly. So they sterilize your car so that if you have anybody else in your car that you're concerned about, you just let off a fogger.
Great. Thanks, Pam. I appreciate your jumping in there. And actually now might be a good time. We haven't asked the mayor to jump in, and I'm sure that she has some thoughts and some words of wisdom. Sherry, would you like to share?
I know this is really helpful for us to hear. I don't think there's most of what you have said have been things that we've really been thinking about. It actually shows to me that there really is such a need to provide businesses, especially if additional restrictions are to be placed on any businesses, that there be some resources to bridge to bridge and carry businesses through these challenging times. We don't know if the general public, the vaccine will be probably summer to fall for everybody. But at least when the weather gets warmer, there's a little bit of renewed space for people to go outside. A couple of things that are really important. Everybody should be on the emergency alert systems with the state and the town, because new information does come out and you could be, in the forefront of receiving that information. There has been, so please do that. There's also the COVID alert CT system. That actually South Korea has used a system like this, and their economy is fully up and going because they have, you are able to shut down if you know that you've been in contact with a person. This will only work if people register on it. Their whole nation registered, and so their economy is humming. We are very late in doing something like this, and unfortunately, people are resistant to it because we're a very independent country and we don't like to share information and blah, blah, but this is what's important for a pandemic to control. So if you can go on that COVID alert CT to register so that you will be receive a notification if somebody, you've been exposed to somebody. So those are important tools. We're gonna talk to the state. I know they are contemplating some what to do, whether to add restrictions. I think you might have just seen the CDC came out this afternoon or just a few minutes ago with a guideline not to travel on Thanksgiving. So things are happening fast as numbers pick up. We know this month and a half is probably going to be or 2 months is probably going to be the hardest time that throughout this pandemic. So we're going to work to figure out if we and try to provide people resources, bridges, and at least fight the fight to make sure that people are aware that how businesses are affected by all these safety protocols. Anyway, so try to do those things. We will try to, through the chamber and through the town economic and through Kristen, to get you any updated information. I will also say the last day, I think, of the applications that were coming out of DECD for the $5,000 grants were, I think the deadline is 5 o'clock today, but it was, I think, demand dependent. So if you haven't done that, the application process, from what I understand, is simpler than before. Hopefully that's the case. We all have said that access support needs to be easy because businesses are working so hard, especially all of you, the owners of these businesses, to make sure that their employees are safe and their businesses are survive. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also invite anybody, any attendees that are watching this forum, if they have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll definitely ask our panelists.
Can I say something to Sherry, Chuck?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you for what the town did, and Kristen, everybody at the town around the outdoor dining corrals. I was wildly impressed, and I can't remember whether it was April or when exactly we had that initial call with and there was a lot of restaurants on there, and there were a lot of questions asked, and I was wildly impressed with how well the town had thought that out. And they had answers teed up to virtually every question. That, I think, really saved the restaurants through the summer. It was very vibrant in the center. You know, I also want everybody to remember that the restaurants are very, very important, but so are our retailers. And I feel like there's so many restaurants they get a lot of attention, and they should. They bring a lot of people into West Hartford Center, but we've got a big stable of retailers who are doing the best they can. Stephanie, all these other people who are working hard to try and keep their business alive. And we've got to not lose sight of that. You got to shop with your local stores and see what you can do, because in much the same way that people will order takeout to try and make sure their restaurant that they like is still there in April, we got to do that with the stores. You got to buy stuff locally, because they're not going to make it if you don't. And so thanks to the town for everything you're doing. Let's support everybody locally, because we got 5 months of weather that's not great in Connecticut, which I hope to sometime leave, but we've got to get through this winter, and it's the restaurants, but it's also those retailers. Let's not forget about them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That's very well said. Very well said. And actually, that's a good segue to another topic: is what ideas, what things, concrete things that you think that the town, the chamber, can do to help during this during the pandemic. Mike talked about a great thing that the town did with the outdoor dining, but if folks should share their ideas. And for that, I'm not going to go around the horn. I'd rather have a free-flowing conversation. But if anybody wants to take a crack, they can just raise their hand, wave me down. Pam, I see you waving your hand.
Well, I think, one of the things that we're looking to do is to partner as much as possible with other organizations and businesses. We partnered with Nutmeg in order to have space that we otherwise wouldn't be able to access. We're partnering with Arc Connecticut starting the 21st to give part of our sales back to Arc Connecticut as a way of creating a win-win situation for us. So we're generating money for another nonprofit, and with their support base, hopefully increase some of our sales. We have 2 doctoral students right now from UConn that are working with us because they were having difficulty finding internships. We have 2 professors on staff. We have a licensed psychologist, Dr. Orf Karen, as well as Dr. Ed Orslack, who is our principal. So we welcome interns, and we would love to have some in our marketing department through the University of Hartford, so that the more that we can create these kinds of partnerships that may be facilitated through the chamber, I think that could help all of us.
Thanks, Pam. That's a wonderful idea. I think the chamber has done a very good job of connecting people, but we can always do more. Any other suggestions? Oh, Stephanie, sure, go ahead.
I would just say, the more we can keep it in the news that you need to support local, like Mike, what you said, thank you so much, because sometimes I feel like restaurants, while they get a ton of bad press, they also get a lot more press of come by takeout instead of also remember when you're shopping for gifts this year, shop local. There is the Ron Foley Foundation and then the Del Mar Hotel have both started promotions where you get a punch card and you try to spend $50 at least 5 places, and then you can drop your punch card in a raffle and you'll win some pretty sweet prizes. So maybe the town can come up with something like that town-wide. And I don't know if there's a cool town experience that Sherry, you can offer, like, sit in the mayor's chair for a day and you can go to Florida and have them make some difficult decisions. But just doing things that really encourage people and remind them to stick around local. You know, we're all stuck here local, but support the community that you live in. And I just think that's important. And, you know, all of us, most retailers are offering discounts and sales. You know, Black Friday has already started for most retailers, so we're kind of playing that game. So there are incentives and discounts to be had, and deals that you can get the same online as in stores. So just keeping it in the news that shop local this holiday season and keep our communities more vibrant.
Thanks, Stephanie. Great advice. I'm just going to we've been joined by our town manager, Matt Hart, and I'd love to get his thoughts. How are you, Matt?
I'm great, Chuck. So it's nice to see everyone online. I'm sorry I joined a little bit late. I was in another meeting. We are members, you may or may not know, of the Capital Region Council of Governments, which represents and serves 38 towns in the greater Hartford region. And we were talking about our upcoming legislative session and the importance of putting COVID recovery front and center on that list. And perhaps you've already discovered this, or discussed this. If not, I think the mayor, the council, Kristen and I really want to know how, you know, what legislation the chamber deems as most important with respect to COVID recovery for the upcoming session. We understand that session is going to be quite limited, but how can we help you help your members? You know, working with our state delegation at both the state level and the federal level. So I wanted to put that out there if it hasn't been discussed thus far. And then secondly, what other ways can we continue to support our business community? I think as an organization, we've made some progress in our ability to stand up a virtual organization, if you will. I think we've made a lot of progress over the last 6 to 7 months. We've got more things in the works, such as upgrading our online permitting system, et cetera. But, you know, we welcome your feedback there too, because we think we're going to need to be able to continue to support you in a largely virtual manner for months to come, and we want to continue to improve in that regard. So those are the 2 main things I wanted to convey. Chuck, it's great to work with you and Chris and all the chamber staff.
Thanks, Matt. And it's great to work with you too. And we're very fortunate to have Kristen on the team. She does a great job. And with that, I'd like to hear from Kristen and Chris from the chamber as well. There's been some very good ideas that have been brought up, but I wanted them to address some of those and also talk about some of the things that they have been doing. Remember when back in the early days in March, when we had no idea what was going to happen. I commend Chris Conway and his staff, Jesse and Kate. They put together a list of resources and businesses that could help. I know the restaurants get a lot of attention, but people were looking for, you know, what was open, what wasn't. And the chamber rose to the occasion, just like Kristen and her staff and so many others in the town. But Kristen, could you comment?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chuck. You know, and I just want to say a couple words based on the feedback that we've heard, which has been so valuable, so important. I think that, you know, in my work as a liaison between the town and the business community, I couldn't, you know, do half of what I've been able to achieve without the partnership of the chamber. So, you know, the staff has just been phenomenal. I think that we all recognize and realize that. And there are some initiatives that between the town and the Chamber of Commerce, we will be rolling out hopefully before the end of the week. But in particular, I just wanted to highlight a couple. We will be announcing a holiday window contest. Any business that would like to participate can decorate their windows as they'd like to for the holidays, and that's going to be really a way to really engage with the public and the community and drive traffic to all the different business districts that are located around town. In addition to that, we also will be putting together some virtual programming for the holidays to be streamed in support of our local businesses, particularly within the arts. And then also we're going to be rolling out a social media contest as well that's really meant to drive people to shop and support local. So this particular campaign, it will give a certain amount of points to people as they are tagging and posting pictures of their favorite businesses and their great experiences at businesses on social media, and making sure that everybody continues to get the word out, what businesses are doing and how they can patronize them. So look for those particular items to come. In addition, we have partnered with weha.com to do keeping it in the community weekly column. Staff, I know that you were already featured, but we plan to every single Monday in Business Buzz highlight a new business, in West Hartford, not a new business, but a different business each week, and just, all of the efforts that they have gone through in order to make it through COVID so far, and ways that people can patronize them as well as a tip to be able to support and shop local. And the last comment that I'll make too is, I think that between myself and Chris and his staff, we don't want to say no to you. Businesses, we're here to support you, and we are so open to anything that anybody pitches at us as an opportunity, an idea in order to support our businesses. So anything that any of you ever have in terms of suggestions on ways to support businesses, needs that you have, as Pam mentioned, if you need access to connections, the chamber, myself, we're always here for you. And you are all boots on the ground, experts in your industries. You're working with the public every single day, so you see what works, what doesn't. So anything that you need support on, please come to us. We're happy, and we are here to support and help.
Thanks, Kristen. Chris, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Sorry, I got booted off for a couple of seconds, just so I'm not redundant. Kristen, just what did you just quickly go over so I don't repeat it?
All of the stuff we're announcing before the end of the week.
Okay, very good. And you talked about the articles that we do for WeHa. That I came in at the end of that. Great. Yeah. I mean, the other thing I would say is definitely take advantage of the resources through the chamber. We do a lot of networking. Every single Friday morning we do virtual AM connections, and we get between 40 and 60 people every Friday. And the last third of that meeting is taken up by all of the testimonials about how businesses are working together and figuring out unique ways to partner with each other to help keep each other afloat. That is probably one of the best things we've had. And you can see the examples through the town. I know that the Delamar and the Ron Foley Foundation was mentioned, but the Ron Foley, the Purple Donuts at Donut Crazy, that is just a relationship that was built through the chamber. Something else I would like to add, the chamber itself also has a relatively new committee. It's been around for about 6 months. It's called the Minority Business Committee. And that is just another way that our businesses who are either minority owned or minority represented can connect with each other. And again, we're seeing wonderful successes there with businesses working together. And just to echo what Kristen said, we try to come up with ideas, but you really are the boots on the ground. So if there's something that you think we could be doing, we do have limited resources, but we do get very creative, and we are willing to try to make things work and keep people connected. And I'll just close by saying, if you don't already, follow the chamber and the economic development on social media, because we do push out a lot of information there. I will also say, if you get an email from me, Kristen, the mayor, the town manager, please open it, because we are trying to get information out as quickly as possible. You know, the $5,000 loans, the grants from last week, you know, Mayor Cantor, you know, let us know when that link was going to be posted. And within a half an hour, Kristen and I think, had it out to about 5,000 people. So please, please, please read your emails. You know, we're trying to get this stuff out to you folks as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Great, thanks, Chris. Before we,
thanks, Chuck. Just really quick, this might be a little self-serving, but if the town, for the town representatives still on the call with us, if there's any opportunity for them when sourcing materials or services to look at in-town providers first, or give them a last look at, you know, whether it's a small $50 credit card type purchase that a facility person might make, or even a larger bid job. If we can keep that tax money in town, keeping folks here employed, businesses running, you know, obviously that helps West Hartford.
That's not self-serving at all.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And I think we all can do a better job of messaging with our neighbors and friends and all the people we come in contact with, that the businesses need us more than ever, and shop local.
And can I just add, as you think about buying holiday gifts for your friends, family, and staff, to look at some of the retail stores in the center of town, because we can put together packages, deliver them, do whatever's necessary. So, you know, that would be.
I'd just like to add, it would be great if there could be maybe a consolidated effort to try to encourage college students back in to town to you know, patronize restaurants and do shopping there. I think maybe because of what's on the news, there is concern about college students being relatively high risk, but in fact, our college students are tested more than any other population. Probably we spend thousands of dollars every week testing students, so they are probably as safe as anyone. And so I think it would be great if there was a way to really orchestrate getting college students back into the towns as soon as possible. They may not be the biggest spenders on the biggest high ticket items, but they usually have spending money that would be great to see them spend with the local shops.
That's a great suggestion, Rona. And also our retail establishments throughout town, Park Road, Elmwood, Bishop's Corner, the center, throughout town. Before we move on to kind of a final wrap-up question, I just wanted to see if anybody else has any other suggestions for the chamber or for the town, and how we can help and be a resource during this time. If not, I'm going to move on to the last question. And again, instead of going around the horn, let's just, you know, people show of hands, and feel free to jump in. And I guess it's the big question that's on a lot of people's mind, of a potential state shutdown. And that is, are you prepared? What have you done to prepare if that's to happen? And again, what can the chamber and the town do to help if that were to happen? What would you be looking to us, the chamber and the town, to do if there is a potential shutdown, which obviously we hope doesn't happen, but it's on all of our minds. Anybody want to jump in on that one? Feel free to just raise your hand. Good. Oh, Mike, go ahead.
You know, I think it's hard to prepare for a shutdown, despite the fact that we all know it may be coming. It is what I can tell you in my meetings with my owners. What we talk about is the wanting to get people through and have them not get this sense of hopelessness and have an overwhelming burden that they just give up, and not give up as in they're quitters, but give up because they can't see a way out. And I don't know that there's any way to prepare for that except to be aware of the fact that this is impacting everybody. One of the things that we've had to do in my office is just remind ourselves every day that people deal with the stress of their business struggling, and COVID and the isolation and all of that in different ways. Everybody has a different arsenal of tools that help them get through that. Some are better at doing it than others. So what we try and remember is that we don't know what's going on at home with you. If you call and you're angry with me about something, I'm trying to let that stuff slide off my shoulders and continue to move along and try and problem solve. But this is something that as the disease continues to spread and shutdowns seem to loom, it is really something that is mentally very challenging for people. And so the hope is to try and figure out ways to help people get through this. There are going to be some people who just can't see a way out, and there's no way that I can think of in order to help that. But to the extent that we're able to try and manage through this together in cooperation, I think it's what we all need to do.
Thanks, Mike. Pam, I saw your hand up.
Well, I mean, we have contingency plans, you know, given the nature of our organization, but we've also started to have conversations around how we can support staff in doing some fun events, and that may be something we can all collaborate on. I mean, some of the things we did initially, but we really want to expand on is, you know, we hired a yoga teacher and we did small yoga classes virtually. You know, we hired a martial arts person. We did cooking classes virtually. Now we're expanding that to say, okay, how can we put boxes together with all the ingredients for a cooking class, or all the arts and crafts supplies for an arts and crafts thing, just to keep both the people we support and even our staff, you know, connected. So there would be different kinds of activities for both. So I think, you know, it may be something that, you know, we can collaborate on and come up with some fun things that we can access. I mean, you don't want to have something that's so big virtually that, you know, you just kind of lose the connectedness of the experience. But, you know, I think, you know, we're going to have some things lined up just so that we have, you know, something, you know, that we're prepared for, in addition to sort of the organizational plans in terms of, you know, running the business.
Thanks, Pam. Rona, I'm curious, what happens if there is a shutdown? What happens at the university?
So we are have been since the beginning of the fall semester operating what we call a high flex model, and so we spent about $750,000 on technology in classrooms, so that any student on any given day can either go to the classroom to learn or remote in from home, and the faculty member is teaching both to those students who are online and in the classroom. And so we would just pivot to entirely remote. And in fact, as of Monday, we are pretty much entirely remote. Students still have to come here for their clinicals and for lab work in the laboratories. So we can transition pretty quickly. But again, the challenge that we have is for those students who are doing internships in businesses where the businesses can no longer host them. Will we get those back, and will those students have those opportunities? So for us, that would be a wonderful thing that the Chamber could help with, is to identify internship opportunities in the West Hartford community that would replace some of the internships that I don't think we are likely to get back for students at some of the big corporate headquarters in the city, where they've gone completely remote and they're going to stay remote for a long time. So, you know, we can transition pretty quickly on campus, but some of the connections that we have with the external community are going to have to be replaced, because I think the old ones may not come back for a while.
Understood. Thanks, Rona. We had one question from our new state rep, K4R, about healthcare. If you haven't read it, I'll just read it real quick. She's interested in hearing about any of your experiences for yourselves or your employees with staying healthy and having access to healthcare. For instance, testing access for those who provide healthcare, what would make the biggest difference for you as an employer right now regarding healthcare? Does anybody want to take a shot at that, or have a response?
For us, it would be inexpensive testing with rapid turnaround, which we have other options than we had 6 months ago, but it is still expensive and the turnaround can be slow.
Great.
Yeah, this is Scott Bausch. I would agree on the manufacturing side is we need a faster turnaround on testing. It's highly critical.
Great. Thanks, John. Rona.
Is the doctor still on from Hartford Healthcare, Mitchell?
Yes, he is. Dr. McClure.
McClure.
Do you have a question? Yeah.
Mitchell, what is there are some rapid testing sites, but is it true that those just give a lot of false negatives and that's not the way to go?
So when we say rapid test, most often that means the antigen test, although there's some different types of rapid tests. So when you talk about an antigen test, there is a decrease in sensitivity, and so meaning that it's not as reliable and the risk of false negative is higher. They work better for patients who have symptoms, so they're not really good screening tests for people without symptoms. But the gold standard is the PCR test, and hearing everybody's comments on turnaround time, we have the same issues, obviously the same concerns. We at Hartford Healthcare rely on a lot of partnerships with other labs to do our work. We've seen improvement in turnaround time from the early days of the pandemic to up to 7 days to get results. Now we get the vast majority of test results back in 3 days. It's still continuing to get better, and we thankfully have been able to shift to some more local in-state labs to support us with with really 1 to day and a half turnaround. So, we've seen improvements. Obviously, I think everybody's aware of a lack of kind of national coordination on a lot of issues, which have hindered this and other things too.
Well, I saw watching the news this morning, and they were talking about the fact that you can't test your way into Thanksgiving. That it's just a point in time, and really the long turnaround times makes that very difficult, because you have, if you're going to see family, you have to figure out a way. You got to put a pin in the map and figure out a time to take a test, but it takes, you need to do it well before in order to get your results back. And again, that result is from Saturday, and you're going to see them on Tuesday or whatever. So that's a real problem, and I don't know that it's anything anybody can do anything about. But it's a challenge throughout all industries and throughout individuals and whatnot. So.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. If I can take this soapbox for just a second, I think I actually heard the same story, but it's exactly right that you can't test to determine whether it would be safe to get together for the holidays, because it's quite possible you're carrying the virus and you would still test negative because it takes a little time for it to grow and develop and test positive. So it's impossible to do that entirely safely, and it's a good example of where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I was going to make this comment separately as well, but I think it's especially poignant for the holidays that the principles of social distancing, mask wearing, and hand hygiene are just so key to keep us from going into another lockdown, and to also keep us safe at the holidays. So I encourage everybody with your employees. I appreciate Mayor Cantors is on the call, and whatever perspective she would have about sharing that message widely. That's really our strategy to keep this from revving up even more and getting worse. And just to comment, Mike, a little bit more on testing, we are challenged right now with, again, access to testing. So in the early parts of the pandemic, there was a challenge to get enough reagents, enough swabs to be able to test people. Now it's those are in good supply. It's really just a matter of getting people tested fast enough, because there's a huge amount of demand. We do have open access for anybody who wants to test, and we at Hartford Healthcare are doing all we can to really keep up with that. We're doing a lot of different things, but it's not a perfect solution, and again, anything we can do to prevent the spread of the virus, that's what we want to do right now.
Great, thanks, Doctor. Does anybody have any other thoughts they'd like to share? Any other suggestions, any other concerns, suggestions on what the town, additional suggestions on what the town or the chamber can do to help? And if not, if you don't have them now, if they come to you later on, you can always email Kristen, Chris Conway, or myself. Before I hand it back over to Chris Conway, just invite Matt. Do you have any thoughts as we look to wrap up this discussion?
Thank you, Chuck. Again, Matt Hart, Town Manager. It's wonderful to hear from you all. Again, to the extent to which the Chamber has suggestions for the upcoming legislative session, I'd love to hear them. I'm sure the Mayor and the other council members would too, so that we can work to advocate on your behalf. And again, please continue to communicate through Kristen Gorski. I think she's doing a fabulous job as our Economic Development Coordinator. We want to do outdoor dining again next year. So we're going to be looking to partner with the Chamber and all of you on how we best do that, and continuing to support our community over the next several months.
Thanks, Matt. Mayor Cantor, do you have any closing thoughts?
Thank you. I just want to, again, thank you all for your perseverance, your courage, your commitment in leading your organizations and being creative. We do need to hear from you if you have particular concerns. One of the things that actually came up yesterday, I was talking to Chuck about it right before we got online, is the PPP. There was a new IRS ruling that came out yesterday on the PPP and taxability of and when expenses can be deducted. So I just, we need to know these things so we can, call our federal delegation and have them fight. So again, please be aware of, there's so much coming at all of us. And so we're trying to consolidate information either through Kristen or through the Chamber and get that, but we are open for every question. Matt and I answer, and Kristen and Chris answer every email. And so we need to hear from you if there's something that comes up. If there's an idea you have, we want to hear from you. And we will really try to get through this time together. We will push. Think local, buy local, support local. And Doctor, I promise, we actually are waiting on our Everbridge. There's a draft out there. We will get that message out there. Where that is the most important thing that we can do. So communicate with our residents on how to keep safe. If we can keep people safe, we can open businesses faster. So if we can control the spread, so we need to do that. We all have personal responsibility for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. With that, thank you all for letting me host this, and thank you for your time. And with that, I'm going to hand things back over to Chris Conway.
Just wanted to once again thank our panelists and attendees. This was, as I predicted, a very rich conversation. I took lots of notes, and beyond that, we do plan on taking as much action as possible. I would just like to once again just thank our sponsors, the University of St. Joseph, who was our presenting sponsor, LeGrand North America, who was our gold sponsor, and Corsi and Company, who is our silver sponsor, and of course Westfield Bank, who's our technology sponsor, and brought this, was able to facilitate this program. Also to Jen Evans and the folks at West Hartford Community Interactive for doing the live stream of this as well. one of the things I just wanted to close with, and also, of course, thank Chuck for doing just a wonderful job of moderating and for his leadership on as chairman of our Economic Development Committee. The one thing I just wanted to close with is, as the executive director of the chamber and my staff, Kate Cobes, who was working behind the scenes, making sure that the right person was on camera at all times. So great job, Kate. And Jesse Bouclier, who was monitoring the chat, which was very active. So great job, Jesse. I just wanted to say, as the executive director of the chamber, you know, by the nature of this organization, we are a conduit. So we are the commonality between the leadership in our town, our business leaders, very often our citizens, and it goes beyond that to our state legislators and even our federal legislators. And the only word I can come up with is just how proud I am of everybody. Almost 9 months into this, people are still figuring out what they can do and not as much about what they can't do. And you know, I'm in contact with businesses and the town every single day. And you know, I'm not going to pretend it's easy. I'm not going to pretend all of the conversations are positive, but they are solution-based. And I think this forum was a perfect way for us to really think about over the next few months, how can we stay solution-based and continue to support our businesses and therefore our community. I'm going to turn it back over to Kristen to just say a couple of closing words. And, you know, I can't thank her enough. You know, we are in contact multiple times every single day, trying to figure out what we can do. And she certainly maintains that same positive attitude, as I said, almost 9 months into this. So Kristen, why don't you close it out?
Thank you, Chris. And there's really not too much to say. Everything has been so well said. I really want to thank all of our panelists today. You know, as expected, hearing your insights is invaluable to our continued efforts and our continued work. And again, we understand it has not at all been an easy road. You know, and you know, there's more of that to come. But we certainly appreciate everybody's positive attitude and their willingness to think outside the box so that there is continuity with our businesses. Our businesses are the backbone of our economy. They're the lifeblood of our town. And so it would be detrimental to lose any of you. So, you know, anything that we can continue to do between all of the town, meaning, you know, myself, the town manager, our town council, who are so incredibly engaged in our community, the chamber, anybody, we are here to help, you know, happy to support you. Just, you know, keep communicating and hopefully we'll all get through this. But thank you so much. This has been such an excellent call. I really appreciate everybody taking the time. Chuck,
thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen.
Great. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Stay safe, wear a mask, and have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too.
Bye.